Hi, I'm Shane. I'm one of the developers here at Radio Workflow, and the goal of today's video is to take you through how to set up your clocks inside Radio Workflow. Now, clocks do require a few different things to be set up first. So what we're going to do is go in. I'm going to show you how to set those up, and then once we do that, we're going to actually go in and have a look at a clock, and then we're actually going to build a clock. It's going to be a very generic clock because we don't want to spend obviously too much time building it, because we want you to get out there and actually build your own clock. All right, so one thing I will note as well is you will notice I am using an application here called Workstation. Now, what Workstation is obviously Radio Workflow, 100% cloud-based. We do allow you to download what we call Workstation, and you can do that by going to docs.radioworkflow.com, and there is a link there to download Workstation. Now, the reason that we created Workstation was to make the transferring of logs and also audio and stuff like that from the cloud to your local machine a lot easier. So for example, if you build a bunch of logs for tomorrow because you've got a bunch of stations, then all you have to do is go up here to daily logs and hit export logs, and then it's going to get all the logs that you haven't exported yet, and it'll drop it into your automation folder. So that's going to obviously make things a hell of a lot easier, rather than another way you could do it, which is export them one by one, save them, and then drop them into the folder. So it just makes things a lot quicker. And then also you got your import air logs options as well. So obviously after your log goes to air, then you want to import it into Radio Workflow so it can be reconciled. So you can set that up to basically just allow you to click one menu item and it'll import all your air logs. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is set up just a regular avail, so I can show you how to do that, and then we're going to use that regular avail when we actually build our clocks. Now, an avail is simply, so when you create a contract, obviously you've got all your different spot types that you can assign to contract lines and contract sublines. So we can see here we've got our national news spot type. So that's our news credit. We've also got our local news credit, our AccuWeather, our local sports, digital, basketball. So they're all our spot types. And now what we want to do is actually assign those spot types to an avail type. An avail type is what we actually use inside the log. And the avail basically says, you know, you can use these spot types inside this avail type. So then our traffic engine goes, okay, you've got the avail type, say regular avail. So what we're going to do is actually just have a look at what spot types we can use. Okay, we can use spot as a spot type. So let's just get everything that's in there at the moment, you know, any orders that are in there at the moment with spot or run a station or whatever assigned to it. And we'll basically try to fill in these breaks with that spot type. So that's how the routing behind the scenes works. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to set up a generic avail just so you can see how that works. So we can see here we've already got our regular commercial avail, which is basically what I'm setting up again, just so you can see how it operates. So we'll just call it regular avail, just so we don't create any confusion with the other one that we've got in there. And then obviously we can assign different revenue types. So if you want to limit it by revenue type, then you can do that. In this case, we're going to choose both revenue types that we have set up for coastal broadcasting, which is cash and trade. And then for spot type, we're just going to choose, I think it's run of station. So let's just go spot just for this example. If I was setting up a generic avail for real, I would most likely use those run of station ones as well. But to make it quicker and easier, all we're going to do for this one is set up the spot type spot. All right, so once we've created that, we can see that's added our avail to our list. And that's it. Like if you need to make any changes to this avail, then all you do is click on it and it's going to open up the edit section. So what I'm going to do now is just delete this avail out of the system now that I've showed you how to do it, because I don't want anyone to use it. All right, so what we're going to do is go over here to traffic and administration, and then we're going to go to clocks. Now I will mention this is the same in the web interface. So if you go to radioworkflow.com, and also if you access it via workstation, so it's in the same place. There is also an extra link in workstation up here in daily logs, and you go to clocks, and it'll take you to this page. So what we're going to do is just have a look at a clock that we have pre-set up. So we can see here when we open up the clock, we've got an automation command that goes into a break for national news. Then we've got our local news, which goes into our break for news. And then we've got our sports automation command that goes into our break for sports. So where it's got the brackets and then national news, that's the avail type that's actually allowed inside that break. Now a log can have six different kind of types of elements. So you can have a spot break, you can have a command, you can have a program, an announcement, a comment, and an injectable. Now I will note that not all automation systems support all of these different log element types. So it's up to you to basically look at what your automation system can actually use and use those inside your clock. So for example, if your automation system does not support automation commands, putting an automation command in there is pointless, because all that's going to happen when we generate the log is it's going to skip over it and just go directly to the next event. Okay, so what we're going to do is build a new clock. So we can see here we've got three different types of clocks that you can have within the system. You can have a daily clock, you can have a special clock, or you can have a mini injectable clock. Now these are pretty self-explanatory. I will just touch on the first two, and then I'll give a brief kind of explanation of the last one in a little bit more detail. So we've got our daily log. So that's just you can use them each day of the week. Then you've also got your special clock. So that might include, things like Christmas. Like if you want to create a special log for Halloween, then you can do that. And then we've also got our mini injectable option. So what mini injectables are, they're just mini clocks that you can use inside your main clock. So for example, you might set up a 2-hour mini clock that airs on a Saturday morning. Say you've got a football show that changes each week based on when the games are actually going to be on. Then you can actually set up a clock for that particular show, and then you can move that clock around. So in other systems, they do have a similar option called layer. So that's basically the same concept. So what we're going to do is just open up, we're creating a new clock, and then we're just going to enter in a description for it. So we're just going to call this one our weekday clock. And we're just going to put in brackets fake, just so nobody uses it. All right, so then we've got our stations. So all we're going to do now is just select the WJSE option, and then we're going to choose our clock type. So we went through the clock types before. So this one is going to actually be our daily clock, and then we're going to limit it, because we've called it our weekday clock. We're just going to limit it to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then not on Saturday and Sunday, obviously. And then if we try to create a a log on Saturday using this clock, then it's not going to let us. It's going to go, no, sorry, it's not allowed to air on that day. And then we just go create. So that's going to create our clock, and then we're going to get redirected to the clock. Now, the first time you open the clock, it's going to have just 15 blank lines there. You can pretty much ignore them. They kind of disappear as you add things in. All right, so what we're going to do is, as I was saying before, we can add a spot break, a command, a program, an announcement, a comment, or an injectable. What we're going to do is add in a spot break, and we're going to add it in at the top of the hour, midnight hour. And what we're going to do is just for the sake of simplicity for this particular clock, we're going to just run this break every 20 minutes. So what we're going to do is say that we want it to run. So TTR stands for times to run. So we want it to run 69 times. And we're going to run it every 20 minutes. So what that means is it's going to run a break every 20 minutes. And it's going to do it 69 times throughout the day, which means we're going to have a break from midnight all the way through to midnight the next night. And it's going to run a break every 20 minutes. The length of the break, max length, is going to be 4 minutes. We're going to allow 15, 30, so you just separate them by a comma, and 60. And then the priority of these breaks, let's just leave it as 0. And then we're going to enter in how many units are actually allowed inside these breaks. So let's just say 5, for example's sake. As I was saying before, you can set up your automation command. So if you do have an automation command that's required to play before you go into a break, then you can set that up there at the start of the break. And then we've also got an option down the end of the break if you need to put in an automation command at the end of the break. And then all we do is go through and we just select our automation command, our avail type. So let's just choose avail, a regular, commercial for each one of these. Now this is handy because if you need to set up things like positions and stuff like that, say if you've sold, like the first unit in each break, at a higher rate, then you can obviously set up a different avail type for that particular position and assign it there. And then you can actually assign multiple as well. So you might have, first in break and then regular commercial. All you do is hold down the control button and then press the other one as well. And we can see here we're now allowing promos and also the regular commercial to go in there as well. So we are required to select an avail type for each of the units, and then once we're done, all we do is click on the save button. So we're just going to make these must fill, and then we're just going to hit save. So what we've told the system now is that it can use the promo and regular avail, depending on obviously what unit it's trying to fill, and it must be required. So the 4 minutes must be filled up. Then we're going to add in an automation command just so you can see how it's done. So let's just add one at the top of the midnight hour. Sorry, my bad. Midnight hour. And we're going to just say, maybe just a stop set, for example, if that's what your automation command requires, and then whatever the cart number is. So let's just say 555, for example, and then we hit save, and that's going to create our automation command there. And then we've also got the option to add in a program. So we do have, overnights, mid-morning, on air with Ryan Seacrest and stuff like that set up. So if you do have network queries set up, then, some of your shows are actually going to appear there automatically. For this example, we could put in, say overnights. Well, I'm not going to worry about doing that. I just wanted to show you how you could do that. And obviously you can do things like TTR and stuff like that as well. Now you can, when you set these programs up, you can obviously, as I was saying, you can assign cart numbers to them as well. So let's actually create this just so you can see that it does actually have a cart number in there as well, called test. So it pulls this information directly from the program. So to set up a program, all you do is go into settings, logs, proposals, and contracts, add your program, and you can set up those options. So for example, some people use the program option to schedule their news once an hour. So you can set up your news to run each hour on a specific cart number and tell the system that it's basically coming from the satellite, not from local programming. And then you've also got your announcement option. So you can set up different things like promos. So for example, say you want to play a promo just before that midnight hour, then obviously you can put that in. That's really handy. Like say if you got one number that just rolls around, 20 different kind of promos, then you can set up an announcement for it, and all you have to do then is schedule that one number, and obviously the automation system will take care of the actual rotation of those promos. So there we go. That's pretty much our clock. All we do now to use it is we go over here to daily logs, and all we do is we actually create a log. And when we create our log, we select our log, our clock from the list. So we just go station, WJSE, what date it is, and what clock it is. So we should see in there somewhere the clock that we just created. There it is, weekday clock fake. Now if you do have any questions, then obviously all you have to do is click on this support button down the bottom here, and Bob or Jenna or myself or anybody who's actually in support at the time will do our best to help you out. So there you go, that's how you create your clocks inside Radio Workflow.